Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Mrs. Sarada, we have to start with the pledge. I'm sorry. We'll call the meeting to order at 8 o'clock. And Ms. Saradaki, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Brody?
Here.
Dr. Clancy?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Ms. Shermer?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Mrs. Winkler?
Here.
Ms. Cleary?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you, Mrs. Saradaki. If you'd all join me in standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In accordance with provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, notice of this meeting has been published at the Board of Education offices. Such notice was also provided in written form to the Times, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, and the Borough Clerk of Fanwood. In accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Public School Bylaw 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board, please feel free to come forward. Please state your name and the town you reside for the record.
Hi, Edmund Hall, Scotch Plains. This is Sardaki. How you doing? I've sent you numerous emails, pictures in the past regarding impalement hazards. Sidewalks are being replaced. I thought the issue was resolved, but just a couple of weeks ago, over at McGinn School, I found some more again.
Are those the ones you sent me, the most recent photos?
Yes.
And I
So-
believe we addressed it right away.
Okay, but how it got to that point, is there an answer of why the safety prevention was not implemented?
All I can tell you is that we continue to have conversations with the contractor.
Okay. Do you require, any work plans or JHAs from the contractors prior to them starting work?
Not work like that,
Not work like that?
no.
Okay. Well, maybe make a suggestion that moving forward, you may want to request that to avoid putting, the public at risk, especially children, of a potential rebar impalement hazard. It's one of OSHA's deadly dozen. Once the hazard's identified and basically has been ignored in the past, then it's a willful violation, which happened quite a bit when you guys were doing Terrell last summer, especially along the collector sidewalk up at the road there, along Terrell, running parallel to Terrell. There was quite a bit of rebar impalement hazards on that, especially at night. Somebody could be out there jogging, walking their dog, trip on one piece of rebar or the metal pins that they use and impale yourself on the other. And it's 100% preventable. So there's really no reason that people are being subjected, once again, especially children, because I was once a kid and I like to hang out around the schools when they were closed, not when they were open. So just kind of moving onward to McGinn, I got a few items tonight. I saw that the one of the two handicap ramps was replaced in front of the school.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so one of the two is good. However, the one ramp that's closest to the handicap parking stall was not replaced. I don't know why that was. And also that same ramp that was not replaced will be utilized for the public for voting. And in addition to that, there's a pretty severe tripping hazard behind that ramp at the sidewalk that leads down to where the gymnasium is. So I would have thought that handicap ramp would have been replaced since the other one in front of the school was. Do you know why that one was not replaced?
Well, I know that we were replacing the ramps where we were replacing sidewalk.
Okay, but you were there with the crew You know, the
No, I'm
ramp that's
saying-
there now is non-compliant.
We
I
weren't
mean, just common
replacing,
sense-wise, it would have made sense. You had the crew there, just replace one more ramp while the crew's there.
we were replacing the ramps where we were replacing sidewalk.
Okay,
And that's
but-
what we do when we do work on our schools, is where we're replacing the sidewalk, we'll replace the ramps.
Okay, but
as
about
we're-
50 feet away or less, there's a non-compliant ramp that comes off of the handicap stalls that are closest to the handicap stalls, and once again, will be utilized by the public while voting. That was not replaced. So I guess we'll have to wait for next summer. In addition, I know this is probably more of a town traffic safety issue, but I feel like it's worth mentioning here as well. In years past, from what I recall, prior to school opening up, all the crosswalks and pavement markings were touched up, especially within the school zones. That's not the case. You drive out here onto Westfield Road, you go to Park Avenue in front of Park Middle School, in front of the high school here in Brunner, you could barely even see the pavement markings and the crosswalks. It's in real bad shape.
That is something that the township handles.
Okay, but, you know, we have full-time Board of Education staff that I don't think it should take a resident to perhaps draw it to the township's, attention, which I'm going to do after this. I'm heading over to the town council meeting to mention that. And then just one other point too, and I know we discussed it, and I've sent several emails over to Mr. Mirabella, but the flashing lights on the 25-mile-per-hour school zone speed limit sign in front of Parker are still not working.
I did send the email, forward the email on to
Okay.
the town about that.
Still, and I've sent emails as well, and I sent emails about the pavement markings and crosswalks. That was just a couple days ago. But I've sent numerous emails about the flashing lights, and, there's been no action. So any help you could provide and assistance with those would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the board at this time, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one at this moment, we will move on to committee reports. I know we had a very busy week and we have several reports, so if someone would like to start.
I'll start.
Mrs. Winkler, you have policy?
Let's see.
Thank you.
We had a policy committee meeting yesterday, in which we discussed various policies and some changes that we are looking to make to them. You should have received in your email today an email from Dr. Hayes outlining some of the changes, but also with the,
Yeah, they don't have it yet.
oh, okay.
But they will get it tomorrow morning.
It will
'cause
come.
I was waiting for an okay, but you'll get it tomorrow and go on.
Okay.
I'm happy
Sorry
to
about
know
that.
I did not
Jumping
fall
the
behind,
gun.
so thank you.
Okay, so we are going to be releasing the following policies for first reading. So it's policy 5339, which is screening for dyslexia. We made some changes, or we're looking to make some changes to this, including the International Dyslexia Association's definition of dyslexia, which was inserted into the New Jersey Administrative Code, and so we are using the one that they are using in our policy. Also, reading disabilities, professional development requirements that the state is requiring, we are also referencing that in our policy for specific staff members. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, the policy is pretty good. Policy 5465 is for early graduation. The only really significant change is that the HESPA test has sunsetted and gone, and so we are changing the policy that the early graduation, the student must have demonstrated proficiencies in the statewide assessments as required by the Department of Education for high school graduation. And we made a point of not saying the PARCC test because while that may be the current thing, that may not always be the thing, and rather than changing the policy every time that they change the test, we're just going to say that as long as the student has demonstrated proficiency with the statewide assessments that are required by the state for graduation, that'll do it. Okay, policy 5615, suspected gang activity. In this policy, we have included the legal definition of criminal street gang as it has been updated and defined in the state codes, and the gang training requirement for administrators has also been updated to match what's in the law. Otherwise, our policy is pretty much the same. It's been revised to indicate that any unacceptable conduct that is or may be gang-related will be reported to law enforcement. That's also pretty much, I assume that, I can't imagine the law would not require us to report that. Policy 5756 on transgender students. We are updating this policy also to meet requirements so that we can provide equal opportunities and equal access for our transgender students within the district. The existing policies language is it's a general nature indicating parent and the student will meet with school district administration to discuss accommodating the needs of our transgender students on such issues as names and pronouns, student records, restrooms, locker rooms. The revised policy continues to require parent and student involvement in gender identity and includes a new section and a process when a student no longer identifies with a previously asserted gender other than their gender at birth. And I'll tell you, I personally did call someone I know who is transgender to ask, does this happen? Because I just never imagined that would happen, but it does. And so thankfully we are ahead of that curve. We will put that in there as well. And I should note that federal and New Jersey law both prohibit discrimination in schools based on gender identity or expression. And the board is not required to adopt a transgender policy, but we are required to comply with the law, and I think it's in our best interest to have this policy. Policy 8540, school nutrition programs. Previously was known as our free and reduced rate meals policy, and the associated regulations. We're removing the regulations entirely because basically we're just going to reference the state code anyway. But the policy is changing to address several issues. It addresses requirements for the school nutrition programs. The regulation is being abolished. I just said that. I'm not going to say that again. Terms in this agreement often change for the New Jersey Department of Agriculture has this agreement about the free and reduced lunch program. The terms are often changing, so instead of changing our policy, just like with the other one, instead of constantly changing the policy to meet that, we are going to change the policy so that it says that we will be compliant with state and federal agreements. And that should do it for that. It also indicates that the person authorized to initially review and then determine eligibility for the free and reduced lunch program will be designated in an annual letter to the parent. The guide also indicates the hearing officer for parent appeals of eligibility determinations will be designated by the,
School business administrator.
thank you, I just,
That's okay.
wow.
It was a lot of policies.
Ugh. And that decisions of the hearing officer are appealable to the business administrator. And then, other than that, it's just the title change to school nutrition programs instead of free and reduced lunch. Policy 8820, opening exercises, is now going to be policy 8820, opening exercises / ceremonies. And in this one, the biggest change to this, I think, is that we have removed the requirement that if a student objects to saluting the flag and stating the Pledge of Allegiance, we are no longer requiring that the parent submit written notification that their child is not going to be participating in that. So in addition, we've also included ceremonies and observances that are outlined by the state as having been added in their codes as ones that we need to acknowledge. And so we've added a handful of holidays and other things to observe, including Commodore John Barry Day. Yes. And also, we were discussing creating a policy about having a student representative to the board, sitting on the board at board meetings with us, and we're still sort of working out the details on what we think is going to be the best way to present it. We've looked at a few different policies from a few different districts, and we're looking at the one that Strauss Esme gave us as a sample. But we will figure it out, and then we'll come back to you with that.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
We have a lot of people that don't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
No, we don't.
Good.
No, but we need to.
But in some cases, it is a religious piece as well for some people. So we just want to ensure that we're respectful and we don't make it difficult for the children.
It's always good to have a solid policy to fall back on. So thank you very much for the thoughtful work and report.
Policy is such an exciting committee.
It's a lot going on.
Mrs. Winkler is
anyway.
handling it very well, thank you. I believe we also had a finance report?
Yes, we did. In your agenda tonight, we'll be looking at the bid award for middle school parking lot. And when we get to that point, if you look at it, the lowest bid was by Fisher Contracting, but we are unable to, that bid is invalid because it did not identify the subcontractors on the bid. And this is what's called a fatal error for the bid. So that bid can no longer be in the running. Mrs. Saradaki did consult with the board attorney, who agreed with that, and therefore the bid will go to the next lowest bid, which was Concrete Construction Corporation. We will be transferring an additional $100,000 from the 2015-2016 extraordinary aid to cover the cost of the parking lot and the drainage. And that's the drainage to take care of those houses that have been getting flooded, not having to do with the actual parking lot. This is a separate issue. And also, it has come to our attention that a boiler at one of the two boilers at Evergreen School will either need to be repaired or replaced. And we are recommending that the boiler be replaced at this time, because in a year we'll no longer be able to get parts for this boiler. Much like other things in our district, we have them until they are obsolete. So that will, I believe that's also on tonight's agenda. So that was it for finance.
Thank you, Dr. Clancy. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
You should share that.
Mrs. Saradaki?
That was to say the boiler is original to the building.
Okay, good to know. We have gotten all the life out of it we could expect, so, and more. So, okay, thank you very much, Dr. Clancy, for the report. Moving on, I believe we have a facilities report.
do.
Mr. Murray?
So we had six items we talked about, two of which were just covered, but I'll touch on them as well. So two of the items we're recommending we move forward with the recommendation to proceed with the project. So first update is kindergarten. Obviously, everybody knows kindergarten additions are complete. Kindergarten opened on time, so just working on remaining punch list items in that project. Dr. Clancy touched on the Park Middle School parking lot project and the rationale behind the disqualification of the lowest bid. So the Finance Committee, Facilities Committee is recommending we move forward with the concrete construction bid. Roofing projects are expected to be completed by Monday, hopefully, at Coles, McGinn, School 1, and Park, with just the remaining punch list items outstanding. Window projects at Coles and Evergreen are done as well, just some additional punch list items working on there. There was a lead testing report came back and found that all sinks and faucets are below the US EPA standard of 15 parts per billion. And I believe we do not have any additional guidance from the state as far as new regulations regarding testing frequency and retesting and things like that.
We have some guidance, but they're still in the process of clarifying it.
So nothing firm. And then the boiler at Evergreen School, obviously, is the other item that we believe, obviously, the cost to repair a boiler versus the life expectancy versus the parts will become obsolete in the next year. So even if we do replace it and it needs parts after a year, there are no parts. So you're going to basically throw bad money after bad boiler. So the recommendation to move forward with a new, more efficient boiler is seems like a wise decision as we continue to upgrade the facilities in each of the different schools. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Does anyone have any questions? Any comments?
I would just say, for the sake of the public, Mrs. Saradaki did tell us that we have been doing boilers over time.
Yes.
So we're not going to get hit with all the boilers at once. They've been going in an orderly fashion.
Approximately 2 a year, it seems.
Yeah, so several of the schools, it's not like this is starting. We're somewhere in the middle towards the end of the...
Thank you for the clarification. That is
It's funny
important
because
to know.
Evergreen's our oldest building, and that boiler has lasted.
Well, there's still a second boiler that's
Yeah.
as equally as old, right?
But it seems to be holding up.
But we
leave it
did talk
there.
about that as well, about working on a plan to eradicate all the old boilers over time, especially if parts are no longer going to become available shortly.
All right. Moving on, I would like to present the Curriculum Committee report. The Curriculum Committee met yesterday, and Dr. Mass provided us with an update on the professional development plan for 2016-2017, as well as an update on the Title I Arts Integration Pilot Program grant. So we had a very good presentation from Dr. Mast, who gave an in-depth report on the goals for professional development. Here in this district, we do pride ourselves on doing that and taking it very seriously and doing it very well, all with the goal of enhancing and supporting student achievement. One of the stated goals for the professional development program is to support teachers' instructional practice in all areas of the Danielson framework. To remind everyone, the Danielson model is the current teacher evaluation system used in this district. We do that so that it will provide impactful professional development for the teachers. It's related to an evaluation system they are familiar with, and that they participated in choosing, I should say. And all goals of professional development are to enhance the teacher's learning so that we enhance student learning. Additionally, the goals include giving teachers choice in professional development opportunities to strengthen areas of specific interest and practice, providing opportunities for peer-to-peer professional development, allowing for the growth of teacher leadership skills. And we've seen that this past year in some of the turnkey professional development that's been provided by teachers who have been training other teachers who can now bring that out to a wider audience of teachers. Also, another goal is to provide additional classroom embedded professional development opportunities where experts will model specific practices as part of the professional development program so teachers can learn from experts in a very targeted specific area. This year, there was an instance where choral teachers observed instruction in, please help me with that, solfege, thank you, which is tonal scale training, and they were actually able to see an expert in the field do this with students, and over the period of time that they were working with the students, there was a noticeable difference. So our teachers benefited by seeing how those practices are employed for very direct change in student ability. Another goal of professional development is to create more opportunities to include students in professional development experiences. Again, we saw some of this over the summer and in other areas as well when the students participated in the Google Classroom professional development, which I thought was very impressive to have students who were willing to come in over the summer, but they were very willing and it was well received by the teachers. Also, we look to support novice teachers through the tenure process and with the addition of a fourth-year roundtable. This allows, as I guess you would say, mentoring for our teachers, our newest teachers, to be trained in the values that we hold in this district and the practice of teaching. Also, we look to engage new teachers in district expectations and practice within the induction program. Another goal is to provide seminars based on the needs that are identified by the data by teachers and administrators. This year, I know Mr. Veninger, our math content supervisor, had spoken about actually using the data that we received from PARC to actually work on some articulation with the teachers from grade level to grade level so that we could see improved results with students. So very interesting. The data and the reasons for PARC are many. Also, we would like to see teachers given the opportunity to participate in partnerships to expand our district vision and experience. This past year, thanks to a grant that we received, teachers were able to share in professional development opportunities with Plainfield and Keene University, I believe, correct? We also want to support readers and writers workshop models. Dr. Mast actually spoke to us about Matt Hall from TCNJ, who came in and worked with Erin Molman and had a pre-conference discussion with selected teachers to focus on very specific issues that they were interested in, and then Mr. Hall modeled those strategies for the teachers, and that had a very immediate impact on teacher learning. Activities that they use to get us to the place we want to be are the new teacher orientation, new teacher roundtables, 3 district professional development days which are built into our calendar, teacher coaching program including co-planning lessons, analyzing student data to determine how to differentiate instruction, revising and refining instructional materials, co-teaching, again harkening back to the grant that we received, which was really a wonderful opportunity to expand this. Also, activities that support professional development in the district are our participation in the Tri-State Consortium, which allows our staff to benefit from working with other high-functioning districts to observe and study areas of developing critical thinking skills in our students. I remember a previous report on the details of metacognition, which was quite exciting. We also look to provide outside seminars and workshops when necessary and prudent, and also we look for classroom embedded sessions for lesson study, also working with experts. Very importantly, that we do use peer observation, again, turnkeying some of the training that's been used. We also offer online professional development resources, a mentoring plan growing through the efforts of, I believe, Peggy Brown and Dorothy Lusk, to expand that. We also had a very successful developing professional development academy over the summer, where teachers were provided with many opportunities to learn and participate and actually run the sessions themselves, so teachers teaching teachers. And we also have some book clubs, including The Art of Happiness at Work. I think I could use that one. Fostering Resilient Learners, and Growing Up Global, which is a parent-teacher book club, which sounds very interesting. The committee was also provided by Dr. Mast with a list of the state-mandated professional development activities, which are tracked and matched with suggested trainings for identified persons, including the required frequency of those trainings. I'm very proud and happy to say that we do well above what is mandated, although there are many mandated issues that we do keep track of. So I believe I have covered as much as I could. Dr. Mast is always very thorough, but if there's anything else you would like to include, please go ahead.
I think you got it.
Thank you very much. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to try to answer. Okay, so we will move along. I believe we have covered all of the committee reports. I would like to step back one moment, and I have to apologize that I failed to announce the additions to the agenda for this evening, so if I could just take a moment to do such. We will have under business number 6 BUS, which is the bid award for middle school parking lot. We also have 12 BUS, which is the Title I Arts Integration Pilot Program Grant Submission. And number 13 BUS, which is the installation of the new boiler at Evergreen Elementary School, which we've heard so much about today. So thank you. I know right now we are getting ready to hear, yes, I'm sorry.
I was just going, I was going to say thank you. I guess it would be Dr. Mast who wrote the grant that we've submitted for the
Yes, the grant.
Title I Arts.
I think it inadvertently got cut off my copy. Thank you, Dr. Clancy.
Oh, I just want to say it looks really fabulous. Thank you for giving us a shot at getting it. So thank you.
We are in the application process.
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, that's good.
They just opened up the portal today. And,
Okay.
yes, it's.
But to that point, thank you for participating in that for us, and it's a very exciting opportunity. We did hear at committee about what that would bring, and I hope that down the line we have a further report about how we received the grant, and we can go into more detail at that time. So now I think we will move along to the instructional update, and Dr. Hayes will provide us with a report on the opening of the school.
See, you can't.
Yeah.
Guess we're not looking at that right now.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome to our annual opening of school report. Indeed, this is a very, very exciting time this year. I want to first start by thanking Debbie Saradaki for her leadership in terms of moving us forward with the building projects that we went through this last summer, and Anthony Miranda for his tireless efforts in terms of helping us to get our schools ready. When I tell you getting the CO for the building additions the Thursday before school opened was at least a nail-biter. You can certainly appreciate where we are with that. But nevertheless, we did it quite well. And hang on, because this is advancing too far, so we want to go back. Are we going back? Yes. Okay, so the construction actually began at Evergreen School in January of 2016 and McGinn in December of 2015. So we had, roughly 9 to 10 months to get this very, very large project completed. And we're really very, very pleased that we were able to accomplish that. The additional classroom space is supporting 18 sections of full-day kindergarten, and I'm pleased to report that we have 71 more kindergarten students this year than we had last year in the district. So you see here Evergreen School in a small snapshot in progress, and then Evergreen's completion, and the first day of school at Evergreen, and the ribbon cutting that we did to open that new addition. And similarly, we have the same at McGinn, where we had the construction beginning and the wing that was completed, the children happily arriving on the first day of school for kindergarten, and the official ribbon cutting. So there were, in terms of supporting this project, 18 kindergarten teachers who formed a very cohesive team, and 7 of those kindergarten teachers were original to kindergarten, 7 transferred into the grade level from other grade levels, and 4 are new to the district. In addition, we have some people in new places this year that we're celebrating. Mrs. Rabimbis is our new Director of Special Services, formerly the outstanding principal of Park Middle School. And to ensure that Park continued to have great leadership, we promoted Dr. Jocelyn Dumares to be principal at Park Middle School. She was formerly our language arts supervisor, and so now we have a new language arts supervisor as well, and that is Elizabeth McKenna, who is one of our outstanding English teachers from our high school. So she's taking on that new role. We did welcome over 50 new certificated staff members. That does not mean we hired 50 more people because we did have 37 people that we needed to replace. So our thanks to Mrs. Deborah Belfield and our Human Resources Department, because they were extremely busy all summer helping to support the interview selection process, the checking of resumes, the checking of references, making sure everyone passed their criminal background checks, and all of the work that it takes to onboard new people into our district and keeping track of all of that. But they did that with great glee, and you see lots of apples. This is one of Pat's favorite bulletin boards of the year, because you can't see it so much from the distance in this, but it is right outside the board office here, and we get photos of all of our new teachers, and she insists that they have to be with apples. So we keep to the theme. So a lot of work goes into opening of schools, and really much of the work, it feels in some respects that it's year-round, but in the summer it really does intensify. So we have a very detailed summer work plan, and we followed in 4 major key areas. One was curriculum development, another was professional development. We also did some technology improvements, and we did facilities renovations and upgrades. So my thanks particularly to Dr. Mast and our supervisors who led the exceptional curriculum development and professional development for our staff. And has been reported from the curriculum committee tonight, particularly noteworthy in our district has been the development of the professional workshops that are led by teachers for teachers. This has expanded our capacity to deliver quality summer work for our teachers, and will continue throughout the school year as the Professional Development Committee is in the process of continuing to expand those offerings for after-school workshops. So, our teachers came in, they worked diligently with the supervisors, and this summer we updated the kindergarten curriculum, we revised course proficiencies in social studies, science, and world languages, we modified the pacing guides in language arts and mathematics, and some social studies, I believe, and we also addressed the next generation science standards. We adopted 2 new textbooks. One is for You and the Law, and the other is for Advanced Placement European History. The kindergarten team came together. They had 4 intensive days of professional development. This enhanced the kindergarten science curriculum, which is now aligned with the next generation science standards and does incorporate our full option science units. We created a very child-centered, interdisciplinary, activity-based curriculum across content areas, and it's complemented by using age-appropriate assessment strategies to inform instruction. In the Summer Professional Development Academy, we focused on the following workshops: strategies for engagement, formative assessment strategies, foundations of the English language, the Google Classroom, Everyday Math Academy, co-teaching strategies, and global perspective through art analysis. And here you see some of the teachers engaged in those workshops over the summer. We also bring the administrators together for work over the summer. This year, their opening workshop was actually led by teachers. So the teachers came in and taught the administrators, which is always a real treat for us. And it focused on deepening our understanding of intellectual engagement, enhancing student thinking. We also, in our own workshops, worked on analyzing student achievement data. We did some goal setting that you'll be hearing about relative to following up on our strategic plan and our district goals. We worked through an update of the Achieve New Jersey regulations. These are the regulations that guide teacher observation and evaluation strategies. And we always focus on a review of school safety and security procedures. We added a special piece this year, the Elementary Curriculum Academy, because we had a number of teachers changing grade levels. We wanted to give those teachers the opportunity to be sure that they were refreshed in terms of the grade level expectations and the approaches to pedagogy. And so they focused on specific grade level content and skills. They had a comprehensive overview of the math and language arts programs. They had the opportunity to meet with the principals and supervisors, work with the special needs students to find out their approaches for enhancing those programs in special ed, and also to focus on student perspectives on learning. Towards the end of the summer, we have a very, very impressive 3-day new teacher orientation. This is for any teacher that comes to the district, whether it's their first year of teaching or their 5th or 7th year of teaching if they come to us from another district. We invite all of the new teachers in, and again, they focus on student perspectives on learning. They get professional development in their respective content areas. They work with the special needs students, their approaches to that. They get an introduction to our district's technology platform. They meet with the supervisors and principals. They review the educator evaluation processes, and they also receive training on bullying awareness and harassment, intimidation, and bullying regulations and training. Here you see some of them spilling out onto the lawn at Evergreen during their intense days, and then work within their sessions is the top photograph. In technology, we continue to move the district forward. Our focus was in 4 broad areas this summer. One was the expansion of Chromebook initiatives to support language arts, social studies, and business education. We are using an iPad initiative to support the kindergarten instruction. We're using MacBook Airs to enhance elementary teaching and learning, and we upgraded our server and softwares to increase the efficiency of using technology both to manage the district as well as for instruction. Now facilities. Facilities was a big undertaking this summer. We accomplished, as you've heard, a number of major projects. First was obviously the completion of the additions. We also modified an existing classroom at Brunner School for full-day kindergarten, and kudos go there to our maintenance crews because they were able to do that work in-house themselves. We completed the window replacement at Evergreen and Coles, pavement improvements at Coles, Evergreen, and the parking lot between Evergreen and the high school, as well as McGinn's parking areas. We installed new cafeteria tables and a new boiler at McGinn. We completed partial roof replacement at School 1, McGinn, Coles, and Park Middle School. Interior door replacements at Brunner, Evergreen, and School 1. We added heating, ventilation, and air conditioning to the 2nd and 3rd floors at Park. It's not quite functional yet, but it's getting there. We've got to finish up with some electrical contracting there. Those early days of back to school were quite intensely warm, and people were just sort of playing with events. But we'll get there. We also replaced the storm sewer line in the parking lot at Coles. And at this point, the asbestos tile removal at the high school, Terrell Middle School, and Coles was completed, so that at this point, all asbestos tile has been removed from our elementary schools as well. So in addition to these projects, I just want to give a shout out to our custodians and our grounds crew for their their efforts over the summer, because behind the scenes, in addition to the major projects, we have smaller projects that are going on that they work very diligently. And when you think about the list to open, for example, all the new classrooms in kindergarten, it was a fair number of furniture that had to be put together. In some cases, some teachers had to move from one building to another, so there was a lot of movement of materials and resources, and I was so impressed with how they organized it. When we came down to the final staging on the Friday before school opened, they literally had whole classrooms full of materials lined up on, I guess they're almost like their sleds or movable little platforms on wheels, and they were able to roll that stuff right down, and the teachers were then engaged in unpacking and setting it up. So it's a team effort, and everyone works very collaboratively and with good spirit. So my thanks to everyone that was involved in those efforts. So the kids, too, come back and work really hard to prepare for the new school year. And here you see our marching band hard at work. One of the perks that I get as a superintendent every summer is they serenade outside my office. I get to hear them from the first initial sound all the way through to their finished product, which I was so happy to hear at Red Saturday night. We are the capstone presentation in that night, and they really do a beautiful job. We welcome this year for the first time girls field hockey as a new sport, and here you see our football team preparing for their new season. Soccer opened, girls varsity soccer opened against Westfield on September 10th, and varsity season for football opened against Warren Hills, and the varsity boys soccer kicked off the season with a home game where they played Plainfield. We have a wonderful fan base that supports our teams, and here you see some of them out in their Raider blue and white. Raider Nation supporting our team spirit. Our enrollment remains pretty steady. You see that last year, for the October 15th numbers, we had 5,566 students in our district. At the opening for September, we had 5,585 students. So minor decline at Brunner. Coles concomitantly saw an increase. Evergreen saw a slight increase. McGinn is pretty constant. School 1, pretty much the same. Park Middle School, 913 last year, 915 this year. Terrell, 835 this year, 830 this year, 835 last year, not much change. And the high school has seen a slight reduction, and we have a few more students who are out of district. But all in all, enrollment remains quite steady. Being up by 19 students is not a huge change. So, our elementary students came back very excited, ready for a new school year, and here you see some of the happy faces at each of our elementary schools for the start. Our middle schools came back very excited again. You'll see on the right-hand side the 5th grade orientation at Park Middle School and the first day of school at Terrell. And Scotch Plains Fanwood High School now has a wonderful tradition. During the first week of school, they hold a pep rally and an opening assembly outdoors for the entire high school. The leaders of the Student Government Association organized this activity. The cheerleaders performed, the pep squad, the marching band, sensations, the SGA officers speak, and they really try to engage the kids in having a good frame around the new school year. So with that, my deep thanks go to a number of people. First of all, Ann Oliveira for her help in organizing the PowerPoint, being out there taking many of the photographs for us, and Pat Kane for providing the support, particularly with some of the statistics. And my thanks overall to our extraordinarily dedicated staff for their continuing efforts to support both our students and our families. It really does take the efforts of everybody to have a quality school district, and I often get some of the credit as the leader, but really the credit goes to the people that really work every day in the classrooms. And my thanks to you as a board, because your leadership has shaped our vision, and you really have enabled us to meet the goals that we set in our strategic plan. So with that, it's best wishes to everybody for a great school year, and we'll shut this down, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so wow, right? Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Hayes? Any comments?
Great presentation.
Always one of my favorites. I love it. And nobody gets any time off over the summer. Apparently, no vacations.
Especially the summer.
Especially this summer.
Students would be amazed if they knew how much activity happened here during the summer when they're not here.
Yeah.
I think everyone's on vacation.
They do.
It's a busy time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much to you, to your staff, to all the teachers, the maintenance you pointed out. I know they do a phenomenal job throughout the year, everyone. And it is also my favorite time to see the back to school, all of the good things. We have wonderful resources and our people in the district, and it's nice to take that moment to appreciate a good start to a good year. And just again, thank you to everyone for all of the summer work on behalf of the board. We really appreciate the focus that remains always there, and it's constant, so thank you. Okay, we did have one letter to the board. No letters to the board, okay.
That's a placeholder.
Thank you. And we will follow up with the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So tonight, I would ask that the board approve the 4 out-of-district placements that are on the agenda. One of these is a change in placement, and the others are new placements.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Okay, thank you. And 2S, it's my responsibility every year to report to the board on the status of, it's called the Graduation Verification Report. So I'm happy to present that to you tonight. And at next week's meeting, I will ask that the board have a motion to acknowledge this report. Okay? So, for the class of 2016, 390 students graduated by August 31st, 2016. 11 of those students graduated under the portfolio appeal process. What that means is that rather than pass PARCC or one of the identified tests of record, they were able to meet the requirements through the portfolio appeal. And 11 students received their high school diploma by meeting alternate requirements specified in their IEPs. Those students are IEP exempt from passing the state required tests. And 3 12th grade students did not meet the graduation requirements. No students were denied graduation solely due to not passing PARCC or not meeting the portfolio appeal process. So we congratulate the class of 2016, wish them the best as they continue their educational and vocational goals. Those are the final stats on graduation for August of 2016. 3S, at our next meeting, I will ask that the board approve the annual memorandum of agreement with law enforcement. This is a document that we sign every year. It was revised last year, but does not have major changes this year. And this helps to guide the processes between the district and law enforcement. It's a very helpful document to all of us, and you all had access to it online. 4S, I would like to asterisk this tonight and ask for action. Although I do want to make one correction. The field trip to the Future Business Leaders of America, we have a typo. That is on September 30th, not the 20th. So with the board's pleasure, I would ask that you approve these field trips tonight so that the teachers can move forward with the planning. Our high school students want to attend. 2 of them will be attending the Future Business Leaders of America meeting at the Northern Regional Summit, which takes place at Walk Hill Regional High School. Approximately 50 to 55 students who are members of our management and marketing courses will be attending the Sports Business Day at MetLife Stadium on October 20th. And our high school choral students are interested in attending Fiddler on the Roof under the direction of Jan Allen. And our high school students who are in the Racism and Holocaust class would like to attend Raritan Valley College. This is very interesting. They are going to hear actually survivors of 2 different genocides tell their stories. And that is in connection to an initiative that the teacher is leading in oral history. So if the board would approve those field trips.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much. And then I would ask that the board approve the personnel agenda as reviewed in exec this evening.
Second.
It's a roll call vote. Mrs. Saradaki?
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Shermer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. Mrs. Saradaki, would you care to block your items for business?
I certainly can.
Thank you.
The three items that I'd like the board to take action on this evening. 1 BUS is the approval of the staff training recommended by the superintendent in her report dated September 20th. And there is 6 BUS, which is the bid award for Park Middle School parking lot, and it includes the alternate drainage. And this would require a transfer of $100,000 to be transferred from extraordinary aid from 2015-16. And the last item is 9 BUS, which is the New Road School of New Jersey. I'm asking the board to resolve that the New Road School is not required to charge students for paid and reduced meals in accordance with the income eligibility criteria established by the Child Nutrition Program as administered by the New Jersey Department of Agriculture.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the other items I'd like to review. Two BUS will be the board's acknowledgement of the receipt of the disbursement listings for various accounts for the month of August 2016. 3 BUS will be the board's acknowledgement of receipt of the district's security and fire drill reports for the summer 2016. 4 BUS is approval of vendors for the Rep Theater production. You would have seen our employees in the personnel agenda, and these are the outside people who will be working on the Rep Theater production for stage design, costume design, lighting, and choreographer. 5 BUS is the acceptance of the 2017 IDEA grant funds in the following amounts totaling $1,344,957. 7 BUS is acceptance of the Margaret and Peter Chang Foundation grant in the amount of $9,875.38. 8 BUS are related services through private vendors, and these are both related to the extended school year for 2016 and the school year 2016-17. 9 BUS you've already voted on. 10 BUS is acknowledgement of the business reports for the month of August 2016. 11 BUS will be the bill list approval for the period August 26th through September 23rd, 2016. 12 BUS is approval of submission of the Title I Arts Integration Pilot Program Grant. Maximum amount that we can receive is $100,000. And 13 BUS will be the installation of a new boiler at Evergreen School in the amount of $197,345.
Thank you, Mrs. Saradaki. Welcome. Okay, any questions or comments for Mrs. Saradaki before we move on? Okay. We will move on to board policies. We have no policies to read tonight, is that correct?
We're going to send them all to you tonight.
Yes, thank you.
They'll be posted next week.
We will have some reading.
For first reading.
Yes, thank you very much. Any new board business? Okay. Other board business, a request to attend workshops or workshop reports? Dr.
I'm
Kulikowski?
requesting to attend the workshop tomorrow at the New Jersey School Board for communication.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Any other requests to attend or workshop reports? Okay, other board business. Number 2, Dr. Hayes will request the board approval of the superintendent merit goals for 2016-17 in September.
So they'll be on the next agenda.
Next agenda, thank you
Now
very
that they've
much.
been released by the executive county superintendent.
Thank you for your patience. 3, OBB, the approval of resolution for the Week of Respect, which will be October 3rd through 7th, 2016. I believe we will read this next time, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Also for OBB is National School Lunch Week, which will be October 10th through 14th, 2016, also to be read next week. 5, OBB School Violence Awareness Week, October 17th through the 21st. 6, OBB National Principals Month, October, resolution. And I believe that is it for other board business. The approval of minutes will be also handled next week, and we have quite a list that we will go through. So just please make note to yourself if we, so we can move along next week to approve those if anyone needs to abstain. In accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Public School Bylaw 0164 and 65, anyone wishing to come forward to address the board can do so at this time. Please just state your name and the town you reside.
Hi, my name is Erin McRoy Barker. I live in Fanwood on Herbert Avenue, and I'm a member of the Fanwood Town Council. I came tonight both as a liaison to the council with the board, but also out of concern for where we left off in June regarding all the meetings and the conversations that were happening with regard to alternative plans for the parking lot. I know there were no meetings, including few, if any, shared services meetings during the summer. And so the town of Fanwood wanted to know what the resolution was, since we had not gotten any official notice from the school board that you had decided to move forward with the parking lot plan. But I would like to express concern on behalf of the town of Fanwood that this is not a plan that we have supported, and we believe that we put forward several ideas and alternatives to be considered, and it seems that none of them have been considered or are not going to be considered, and that the plan as it was originally designed more or less is moving forward. Is that right?
The board just approved the bid tonight to move forward.
Okay, so can you help me understand, or help, I guess, Fanwood's town council understand why none of the alternatives that were proposed were acceptable as alternatives to, raising taxes 2 years in a row? Fanwood residents took a huge hit this year from education tax increases. And from what I understand, both Scotch Plains and Fanwood put forward several ideas as optional alternatives to this parking lot, this expense, and the loss of the field at School 1.
Okay, so I think maybe we could just start here. I'm sorry, I'm not myself on shared services. Are you on the shared services for Fanwood Council?
No.
Okay, just to clarify. So we do have Mrs. Winkler and Debbie Saradaki, our business administrator, who have continuously been participating in that process and have reported out many times about the status of the meetings that have happened. And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we have addressed the issues that were raised through both Fanwood and Scotch Plains, and came to a resolution based on, all of that input. So if anybody, especially Mrs. Saradaki or Mrs. Winkler, would like to say anything further at this point. I think the board here is well informed on the issues and the challenges that were presented, and have made the evaluation based on that information. But if there's anything that anyone would like to add.
Only if you have a specific suggestion that was made that you don't like to understand why the board wasn't
in my
in favor.
discussion with the mayor last night and the council, what I understand is that there were several alternatives offered, including ideas from the police departments of both towns, CVS Pharmacy, street parking, moving the buses. Our engineer proposed a reconfiguration of the Park Middle School parking lot. And from what I understand, most of them were rejected, but it's not clear to the mayor and the council of Fanwood why. And maybe there's a need for another discussion. I know there haven't been very many shared services meetings over the last few months, but I do think it's an issue that the town is still concerned about and would still like to discuss further.
The reconfiguring of the parking lot. The parking lot at Park was reconfigured a number of years ago to have a drop-off lane because the conditions on Martine were unsafe and the police required that we put a drop-off lane there. So the plan that was brought to us was to remove the drop-off lane and recreate it back to pretty much what it had been before, which would create the unsafe conditions that were eliminated by putting the drop-off lane in there. Some of the other things, there was some parking, there were some concerns about parking at CVS. There were cars that were parked back there when we went to look at it. It's a fair distance from the school. We were told we could park some of the school buses there. Then we were told to park the school buses on the road in front of Park Middle School where there's currently parking spots, but if the buses aren't parked there all day, we're not really sure who's going to keep other people from parking there. We were told that our teachers could park a block and a half away across on the other side of Park Avenue.
Forest Road.
On Forest, yeah. Across Forest Road. Which could create all sorts of safety issues with them trying to get to and from school in the morning and in the afternoon. We have a number of staff who come and go at different times of day. It was like a hodgepodge of park here and park here and park there, and it wasn't a cohesive plan. And in terms of, there was some discussion.
But it might have been a cost-saving and field-saving plan that the community
but
might
if
have been
it
able to be more
compromises
receptive
the
to.
safety of our students or our staff.
I think
then
there
it's-
might have been some disagreement about that. from
There's
what I
also
understand.
some concern, there was discussion about moving the drop-off area and the pickup area to Madison Avenue, which is already a drop-off and pickup area. I know that there are sidewalks going in there, but the road is being narrowed, which may add to some unsafe conditions if we add additional drop-off and pickup movement over there, because there would be buses in front of the school instead of in the drop-off zone. There were a number of things that were suggested, but
Well, I
most of
think the
them.
concern that I have as well is that I was here in the early spring for most of the meetings, and a lot of the discussion from the board, both also when you came to the council, was that the townships had sort of laid the problem back at your feet and said, try to resolve it on your own and
That's
come
correct.
to us if you cannot. And that's what you all said to us at council and said here repeatedly.
Come to us.
And so this was the plan that you had developed because
I
we
think
had
that we
said
have
to-
some, I'm sorry, but I think we do have some issue on that statement. I don't believe that the board recognizes that as being true. I don't believe that we were told to go back to them. We were very clearly told to solve this problem, and we did, through shared services, have many discussions regarding this problem, but we were never made to feel that we should go back and that it would be solved further. As Mrs. Winkler has stated, each one of those recommendations was addressed, and the statement as far as no meetings over the summer, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe both of you were present with the engineer on the property over the summer at some time.
Yes, and we also did schedule a meeting which only Mrs. Clancy and I showed up for on the property. And then when Mrs. Moore asked if we could meet again, I did send her a date that I would be available, and I never heard back. So.
Well, I can follow up with her on that, but.
Thank you.
I definitely heard clearly in the spring that the board perceived that the message from the towns was to try to solve this on their own. And so both townships responded by trying to re-engage in this problem-solving process.
And I think that what ultimately came from that was what we've accepted here tonight, is that a resolution has been decided upon to this issue, because the things presented were not, in effect, things that we were comfortable doing. They either compromised student or teacher safety. They weren't practical measures for us to run as a district. And while we do always look to take input from not only the Township Council and the Borough Council, but all stakeholders in the community, there are times when decisions need to be made. And with the best information, God bless you, with the best information available to us, I think we've done what we've been charged to do.
I think the other concern that we had was that we did ask for some of those suggestions well over a year and a half ago, and none were forthcoming.
Well, I wasn't on the council a year and a half ago, but from what I
Sure.
understand, and going back to the council, and their response is that there's some disagreement about
Well, we
how
did-
that communication happened. So I mean, I can't honestly get
Through-
involved in that, because that's before
Through
me.
shared services, I know we did ask for permit parking.
That
bec-
was my first request, yes.
That was our first request.
Right.
And we were not, that wasn't forthcoming. The teachers have been struggling with this for over a year and a half at least. So, if those suggestions had been viable, one just wonders why they weren't offered before we went to the trouble of trying to resolve it on our own.
Okay, well, I mean, I can certainly take that back to the council, that was a major issue. I think I did in the spring, and there was a lot of disagreement about
Right.
how that
And the other,
transpired. So I can't comment on it because I wasn't here.
right.
The very first thing I did before we'd even looked at putting in a parking lot at all was go to the Shared Services Committee and ask if there was any way we could work out some permit parking on the streets. And that was the very first thing that we did.
Yeah, no, they acknowledged that was your
Okay.
first outreach.
And
but
we
what
were
followed
told,
from there was
we were told, solve it on our own property. We were not told to come back. We were not told that there might be a possibility. We were told no.
But we did, over the course of several meetings after that, report back on the progress that we were making on what we were investigating, what our options were, where we were going. And after several meetings, it was at some point resolved to remove it from the shared services agendas because it was considered a Board of Ed problem. And so it was then removed from the agendas, and we continued to move on our own on fixing it. It did not show up again on the agendas until some of the residents on Madison Avenue started complaining about the idea that a parking lot was going in near their backyards.
Okay, well, I'll bring that down back to the council. As I said, I wasn't here at that time, and what they reported to me is obviously not the same thing.
And I would like to add, because I was also new to this, like you, I came on the board a year ago, but in being caught up, it was clear to me that the group had considered many options along the way, and when the options, and when the ideas came in June, I was part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
We did look at those again. They weren't just, but it was our decision that those were not feasible for us at this time, and that we needed to move ahead with the plan that we had for the safety of the students and staff, and to solve this problem, not just, pull little pieces out. So the ideas that came up over the spring were looked at.
And in addition, I just think that it also bears noting that we were successful, which was a good outcome from all of the discussions that took place, with getting the approval from the EPA to go
Right.
back to the original plan,
Right.
which is the least disruptive to the field. It is not true that there'll be no field there. We're not removing the entire field.
No, I understand that was never part of the plan.
But as it gets reported out at times, what it sounds, not through your doing, but that sometimes what ends up getting the soundbite is that, we're taking out a whole field and putting in a parking lot. That is not true. We are using some of the space from the field, but there still will be a field. And
Well, in fairness, a much smaller field.
it will be smaller,
Much smaller.
for sure. You can't
but if I-
create a parking lot and have the same size field. But the good news is that the plan will also remediate some of the drainage problems that have been in that area,
By the neighbors.
so that the cost that
So
we're...
these are the drainage problems that preceded, that they were talked about last spring, even without.
Already there.
Separate-
Right.
Separate and apart.
Right.
And I would
Affecting
like to
neighbors'
state for the
properties.
record that while this School 1 area will be smaller, it actually, I believe, is one of the larger grassy areas for any of our elementary schools in the district. That's not something we're proud of. We would love to retain all grass areas. But it's an indication of a very built-up community with continued development, I could say, taking away, available areas and putting pressure on things like parking and getting everyone in and out of the building safely. So,
Coles and McGinn have a fair amount of field space. I mean,
Yeah.
we
My kids were in
recognize that.
McKinney. They had a lot of grass.
They have a lot of grassy area. Actually, Brunner probably has the least. Because although it looks from the front like Brunner has all that expanse in the back, much of it is woods that can't be used at this point. So, it's not as if School 1 will necessarily, we have observed the kids at play. We know how much of the field they use regularly as part of the school. We do know that it'll still be a substantial enough field for soccer practices to take place. And so we feel that at the end of the day, it is a good compromise because we were able to move it back to the original dimensions.
Okay, well, thank you for hearing.
thank you very much for coming out. Okay. Do we have anything for the good of the order?
I just want to, again, celebrate the opening of school with the sports teams. Soccer is doing very, very well again this year, and the marching band festival was delightful last Saturday night.
Yes. A lot of talent in a lot of areas we have. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, and I've been spending Saturdays, I went to a couple of football games and several soccer games. It's very exciting. The crowds are great and a lot of,
Raider Nation.
Raider Nation and cheering and hard work. So if you're available, it's a, free sporting, well, not quite free, but almost free sporting event. Very reasonable sporting event to go and watch, soccer and football and also was trying to get to one. I wanted to go to one of the new field hockey scrimmages as well. But so it's fun. There's a lot to see.
And we also do have our open house coming up this Saturday for the new additions. So from 11 to 1, McGinn and Evergreen will be open for anyone from the public to come in and see what the new kindergarten wings look like.
Guys, I have a question. With the upcoming meetings, you have the back-to-school night for the high school is September 29th, but it says Wednesday.
It should say Thursday.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you.
We moved all of
where
the,
he's just
for
pointing that out to
the
me.
public's knowledge, we moved all of the back-to-school nights to Thursdays. The teachers do prefer them to be on Thursday nights, and we were able to do that because the board, when we set the calendar, was cooperative and made the board meetings in September Tuesdays.
We do try to be a cooperative bunch. Okay, so are there anything else for the good of the order?
I'd like to compliment the artists that we have. This has been up here for quite some time, but that's new to me back there. And when I saw the grades that the kids were, I think it's 4th or 6th grade, I was amazed at what they did. It's just phenomenal. It's just great.
We always get the benefit of wonderful art in this room, right? Mrs.
Yeah,
Turner?
at such a
Thank you.
young age. It's amazing.
All right, so if we have nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.